So, if you've clicked on this video and you're considering learning another language, today I want to give you three different reasons why I believe that it might be one of the best decisions you ever make, even today, this year, despite all the advances in technology and AI and how language learning seems to be becoming less and less necessary. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Jonathan. I actually started learning Spanish for immersion back in 2021. I set myself the goal that I wanted to become fluent in about 8 months by November, because I just wanted to do a trip to Spain and speak to people in Spanish. And I ended up accomplishing it. So I went to Madrid and I went to Barcelona. I documented all of my story if you want to have a look at it. Great times. And then since then, I've done a few interviews in Spanish, just explaining the process that I went through. So this is an interview I did with Mike Ben, and this is also an interview I did with Pablo from Dream in Spanish. Biggest shout out to those guys. But today, what I wanted to talk about was why I think that despite everything you hear about AI and the fact that AI is getting really good, and obviously it's getting much better at fast and at an exponential rate, to the extent that, I see videos now where like you can obviously dub your voice, you can get really good translations. Obviously, there are things that it messes up with, but it just seems like, you know what? I don't know if this idea of learning a language today is even really useful. But I would argue it really is. And the first reason why I would say is actually because of AI. In a weird way, I think there are signs on the internet that with the advances that there are and how everything is progressing so quickly, there is actually a desire for the raw, natural human touch. And despite the fact that we know that AI might even be able to do things better than humans, more effectively, quicker, there is still an appreciation for the fact that when a human does it, there is something there that AI can't provide. Now, to be fair, I'm not the type of person that will say, no, AI can never get to the level of humans. I'm not someone to bet against technology at all. I'm not even saying that that's even true. Like, I'm not even saying that humans are superior to AI in that sense. What I'm just saying is that there is something within humans innately that it seems like, with the accessibility that's so easy to AI, there's something about the raw human touch that people appreciate. And that's why, for example, on YouTube, you're seeing that there's a lot of videos now that people prefer that are just unedited videos, unscripted videos, much more transparent videos, or people are just showing the real thing. And the reason being is because it's so easy now to make the fake one. And so how does that link to language learning? Well, if you're someone that actually has put in the time to learn a language, and you go to, and this is something I even found in my own personal journey, whenever I would meet someone that wasn't a native English speaker, and I would, for example, someone that spoke Spanish, whether they're, especially if they're in England or an English speaking country, and I was able to speak to them in their language, and they knew that I'd put in the time to learn their language, even though I didn't need to, there was an instant bond that was created between me and that person. And I think that with AI becoming even more efficient, that bond will become even stronger, because the necessity of me to learn a language, especially if you're like an native English speaker and you're learning another language, when you do find people that are natives of that language, they will appreciate you. And I think that's something that I experienced, but will be experienced even more as time goes on. Now, alongside that, links very, very nicely my second point, which has to do with the ability to make connections. What do I mean? Well, AI is good at translating, and I think its ability to translate, even from when I was in school and like Google Translate was pretty poor, I'm pretty sure like now it's fairly decent with Gemini and all of these guys, all of these chats, GB or whatever they're called. They're actually really good. Like, they're actually getting to the point where you can have a decent conversation with them. You can actually, even the voice assistants, of course, they're not like, they're not, you can tell the difference between an AI and a real person, but just the rate at which it's progressing and the rate at which it's getting better is very impressive. I'll be honest, it's very impressive. And I believe that despite the fact that it's getting better at being able to translate, it's getting better at giving you the ability to understand things that you wouldn't have initially understood. For example, if you have videos on YouTube like this one, somebody that doesn't speak English naturally or natively, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's already tools out there that exist, but within the next few years, I'm pretty sure we'll get to a point where I look any video on YouTube, regardless of the language that it's in, anybody will be able to watch it and understand it just because of the level of AI that we'll have by then. But there's still a difference between translation for understanding and language learning for connection. And what do I mean by that? Like when you learn a language, what you actually do is you unlock a community. And what you do is you extend your identity. Because, for example, if you learn, like when I learned Spanish, what that did was it allowed me to belong to another community, which is the Spanish speaking community. And as part of the Spanish speaking community, there is now a deeper connection that I have with other people in that same community. Now, it's true. Like for people that aren't in the Spanish speaking community with technology and AI and all that good stuff, they might be able to have a basic or even a fairly advanced conversation with a Spanish speaker without learning Spanish. And I think with time, that's even going to get easier. However, the actual connection that comes from being somebody that actually speaks Spanish and knowing the different cultural nuances, but even outside of the cultural nuances, just the experience of knowing what it's like to speak Spanish and the way you have to even make sounds with your mouth, or the way certain words sound in a certain way, or certain jokes, linguistical jokes that somebody that speaks the language would understand and somebody that doesn't or just translate wouldn't understand. That isn't, or at least for where we're at right now, it isn't something that AI is going to be able to replicate yet. Now, to be honest, again, I'm not the person that's going to bet against technology. Maybe in a long enough time horizon, AI will also in real time be able to give you all of these different nuances and help you to really get to the point to be as if you were part of that community. But I think that's going to take a while if it does happen. And even in that case, as I mentioned before in point one, just the human touch alone and being able to do so manually is an advantage when everything now is so automatic and so like fake, if we can put it that way. And by the way, I'm actually a big fan of AI. But I still do think and I still do see there's areas where pockets are opening where authenticity is appreciated. And I think this is one of those areas. Now, outside of those 2 points, which are points that maybe you've heard before, you might have heard variations of those points. The third reason why I'd actually really highly recommend learning a language is something that I actually don't hear that many people speaking about. And it might not apply to every single person that watches the video. In fact, it won't. It will only apply to the people that are watching this that really are in pursuit of becoming the best version of themselves. They're in pursuit of developing themselves. They're in the pursuit of trying to do more, trying to become more, and trying to reach some sort of mastery. Now, if you're watching this and you're the type of person that, okay, you like to dive into the whole idea of self-improvement, self-development. If you're the type of person that, you believe, yeah, but I'm the type of person I can accomplish things. Like I have goals for myself. I have expectations for myself. I'm not someone that's just going to settle for mediocrity. Like I actually want to do something. We have one life and I want to make the most of it. If you're that type of person and you're watching this, what language learning will do, and this is what it did for me, because when I first started learning Spanish, I was in a position back in 2021 where, let's say, I had failed at a few projects that I'd embarked on. And where I was it was a position where, like, imagine this is like quarantine times. This is the peak of, well, not the peak, but this was around about the time of like the whole COVID period. Or it was in the COVID period, the pandemic period. There's a lot of uncertainty. But within that, even just me, myself, I was someone that had these big dreams, but I hadn't really done anything. And the point I'm getting to is that what language learning did for me is that it gave me a win. And with that win, I was then able to use that as a foundation to build more wins on top. So, for example, I learned Spanish And indirectly, that helped me to get into tech sales. Indirectly, that then helped me to get into, I guess, fitness and improve my physique. Indirectly, or actually directly, that then led to me meeting my partner, who is now my partner today. Indirectly, that's led to more opportunities, like even being able to create this channel. Indirectly, that then led to me meeting other people like even Pablo from Dream Spanish and Mike, and doing interviews and being able to speak to people, and people coming up to me and asking me questions about language learning. So basically, the point is that what language learning did for me was it gave me the first layer of confidence. I don't hear people talking about this a lot. Maybe it's because it's not something that applies to everyone. I know some people just learn languages for a hobby, which is great. But for a few of us, like, what language learning is an outlet for us to start the process of self-improvement. Now, some people say, okay, you need to go to the gym, and I recommend going to the gym. Some people say, okay, you need to start a business. Great. Some people say you need to go make sure you get good grades. Great. Or good grades in school, whatever it is. What I'm saying is that language learning can be another way for you to kickstart your journey, for you to light the flame and start to say, okay, I'm making progress towards improving myself. And the reason why language learning in particular is one of the best ways to do that is because it is probably one of the simplest and easiest. Like, once you really understand what language learning is, which it isn't what we learn in school of like sitting down, learning verbs, learning grammar, learning adjectives, memorizing rules, drilling different. It's not that. What it is really just a game of finding creative ways to spend more time with a language that you enjoy. It's really just a game of building a deep relationship with a language in a way that you can do consistently over time. Now, once you realize that, okay, this is actually probably one of the easiest, it's probably one of the easiest ways for me to gain social credibility in a specific field, because you can literally, if this is what you want to do, you can literally spend, and this is what I did back then. Obviously, I don't have the time to do it now, but you can spend, like, you could wake up, spend 6 hours watching series, Netflix. Within the context of language learning, that is a productive use of your time. There are very few fields, very few accomplishments, very few goals that you can set for yourself whereby that would be a productive use of your time. And what's my point? Even though what you did to accomplish the goal of language learning was like watching movies, watching series, speaking to people, once you get to the point where you're somewhat fluent, that is still in itself respected. And so it's respected externally by other people, but it's also, you also respect yourself internally, because you would have gotten a result. Like, you would have gotten a result of something that other people will even come up to be like, oh, wow, you speak Spanish, excellent. And what that will do is it will help you to be able to do other things. It will give you the confidence, like, yeah, do you know what? I've actually accomplished something. Like, I can accomplish other things as well. And for me, that is one of the key benefits of language learning, outside of being able to communicate, which is great, outside of the experiences. Like, you will get some excellent experiences from learning languages. I remember myself, like, some of the first times when I was in Spain, and I remember distinctively that first trip that I did to Madrid after I learned Spanish. I remember I was in a church, and it was November, and there was a point where I was just sitting there, and I thought, what? How am I understanding this? Like, at the start of this year, if you told me at the start of this year that, oh, by the way, by November this same year, you're going to be in a church in Madrid and you're going to understand what they're saying, I would have been like, what? And sometimes even like now with my partner, sometimes I just think randomly, like, how? Like, how? If someone had told me years ago that, oh, by the way, like, you are going to be speaking Spanish and your partner's going to be Spanish, I would have been like, what? And I think about that from time to time. And I remember the first time I had a conversation in Spanish, and I remember when I used to work in this co-op, which is just like it's like a petrol station slash supermarket in the UK. And I used to work there. And I remember there was this one time this guy came in, and I think he was from one of the Spanish speaking countries, and we had this conversation. It was like one of the first conversations I had in Spanish. And I was so gassed. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, language learning will bring you these types of experiences, and I'm pretty sure everyone that's learned a language all had their own version of these stories, and that's all excellent. That's all great. But even outside of that, what it will do is it will give you a win. And especially if you're in a position where like you haven't really been seeing the progress in life that you want to see. Like I'm talking to a certain type of person for this video. This isn't for everyone. But if you're the certain type of person, if you're a type of person that like, you know what, I'm looking to actually improve. Like I actually want to do something. Like I actually want to be someone, but you haven't done anything. This is somewhere you can start. And this is where I started. Obviously, we're still building. I'm not there yet, but it's something I can hold on to. Like, okay, yeah, I did that. Now we can do the next thing. So, by the way, if you're looking to learn a language, definitely recommend it. If you're looking to learn Spanish in particular, this whole channel is just about learning Spanish, mainly for immersion. And if you're looking to learn Spanish directly with me, links in the description. Hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the next video.